The constant pursuit of wisdom is the less traveled path but the most rewarding in our lives. Some things are like seeds. We plant them in silence, away from curious eyes, so they can grow and flourish without interference. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics comes in. They teach us to preserve and cultivate our inner selves without haste to showcase it to the world. The great Stoic thinkers of history knew that not everything should be shared. They cherished their secrets, accomplishments, and lessons because they understood that revealing too much about the true essence of things could result in losing it. Every joy and sorrow, every lesson and challenge are parts of the story we compose. And if we impulsively share everything, we may cease to live deeply. Just as a flower does not grow if constantly touched, our growth also needs privacy, our own space where we examine our mistakes and victories and decide how to move forward in the best way. Therefore, when we choose not to share something, it is not to conceal it, but to protect it. True growth comes from the balance between what we show and what we keep just for ourselves. In a world that loves to show everything, it can sometimes be challenging to recognize and appreciate what is behind our successes. In this video, we will discuss 11 topics that we recommend you keep to yourself. All are important, so stay tuned until the end of the video to find out why it's better not to talk about your successes. So don't be weak. Stay until the end. Number 1. Do not speak about your achievements. Imagine plunging into the dark and profound waters of your own soul. For the Stoics, the pursuit of wisdom and virtue resembles this deep journey. They believed that true satisfaction lies not in displaying external triumphs, but in introspection and continuous evolution. Every challenge and struggle is not fought in public arenas, but in the silent landscapes of the spirit. In discussing their victories, they offered us profound reflections on ego and vanity, which, when fed, can become barriers between us and true virtue. Their obsession with external recognition, they said, binds us in chains of pride. A true accomplishment is not one that pauses to be admired, but one that silently transforms the community, nurturing noble values such as justice, compassion, and wisdom. For these ancient sages, wealth did not accumulate in vaults, but in the depth of a balanced and serene soul. Instead of celebrating triumphs or succumbing to defeat, they embraced a quiet acceptance of all the whims of life. They invite us to recognize that the dance of existence is orchestrated by melodies often beyond our control. In this remarkable silence, we find a deliberate choice, a commitment to genuine greatness. They believed that true majesty resided in living with integrity and purpose, not in the fleeting adulation of the masses, but in the constant approval of one's own conscience. Dedicating themselves to integrity and the collective, the Stoics left us the legacy that humility, sincerity, and the relentless pursuit of wisdom were the true pillars of a life worth living. Number 2. Do not speak about your unresolved challenges. In the Stoic path to wisdom and virtue, each step had its significance. Detours and obstacles were not mere barriers, but elements that sculpted the soul, shaped character, and taught the true nature of greatness. It wasn't the visible triumph that counted, but the internal battles, often invisible, that determined the inner strength of a person. So if these challenges were so valuable, why did the Stoics advise not to speak about unresolved challenges? The answer lies in their insightful understanding of human nature. They believed that ego and pride could cloud our vision, making us blind to true virtue. The relentless pursuit of external recognition and praise could be a veil that conceals our true potential. The Stoics did not value achievements that could be displayed as trophies, but sought true glory in deeds that elevated humanity, rooted in values such as justice, generosity, and wisdom. For them, true wealth did not reside in the gleam of gold, but in the radiance of a morally upright character and a tranquil soul. The philosophy of loving fate was fundamental to this understanding. The Stoics did not despair in the face of adversity. Instead, they balanced the taste of victory and defeat with equanimity, aware that the tapestry of life is woven with threads of circumstances often beyond our control. Number 3. Do not speak about your good deeds. Imagine a candle quietly illuminating a dark room. Its light is gentle and discreet, yet it warms and brightens everything around it. For the Stoics, kindness was much like this flame. They believed that true generosity didn't need to be proclaimed in public squares or announced from mountaintops. It should, in its essence, be a genuine and subtle gesture, done out of a simple desire to do good without expecting praise in return. Why might this perspective seem strange in today's culture of self-promotion? For a profound reason, the Stoics recognized the danger of turning kindness into a spectacle. After all, if we boast about every altruistic act, we may inadvertently seek warm applause. By keeping our good deeds anonymous, we provide a sacred moment for reflection and introspection, a moment of intimate connection with ourselves, where we can question whether our actions were true or motivated by other interests. This secret self-evaluation becomes a catalyst for personal improvement. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the belief that true kindness doesn't seek the spotlight, but manifests in acts of silent and authentic compassion. This timeless wisdom envelops us with its essence and reminds us of a fundamental truth. Often, the greatest act of kindness is one offered without expecting anything in return. Number 4. Do not speak of your resentment. Have you ever felt trapped in a web of emotions where each thread is a bitter memory, a grudge that refuses to fade away? The timeless wisdom of Stoicism invites us to reflect deeply on the invisible weight of resentment. For these ancient philosophers, harboring resentment was like an anchor preventing the spirit from navigating freely through life. But what if we could choose a less trodden path, where forgiveness and understanding were our steadfast companions? Behind this historical perspective, we find an unwavering focus on virtue and self-control. Have you ever felt the fatigue, exhaustion, and resentment of carrying a burden for too long? This weight is an invisible chain that binds us, limiting our freedom and inner peace. It's fascinating to realize that often, resentment arises from misunderstandings and can lock us in a cycle of bitterness. The Stoics encouraged us to seek the origins of others' actions, to understand before judging. Forgiveness, then, is not just an altruistic gesture, but an act of profound wisdom that unravels the mysteries of the human soul and frees us from the chains of negativity. Because anger and resentment are poisonous flames that, once lit, consume our tranquility and well-being. On the other hand, by choosing the path of forgiveness and understanding, we find an oasis of serenity and peace. Thus, guided by Stoic wisdom, we remember a universal truth. Forgiveness is the key to our own freedom. It is a beacon that guides us through emotional storms and offers us shelter in the harbor of serenity. Embracing this lesson, we discover that sometimes the greatest strength lies in letting go, freeing ourselves from the chains of the past and sailing toward a horizon of understanding and peace. Number 5. Do not speak about your extraordinary abilities. The fifth suggestion from the Stoics is a wise reminder that true greatness doesn't need to be announced. It naturally manifests in actions, not in words. They compared the flaunting of extraordinary abilities to a thunderous lightning, which, though impressive, leaves no lasting mark. Instead, the Stoics valued the constancy of self-improvement and the silent mastery of skills over the fleeting applause of public admiration. After all, who hasn't felt the fire of a dream extinguished prematurely when exposed to the cold of skepticism or the heat of ridicule? In Stoic philosophy, self-sufficiency is celebrated as an invaluable gem. True wisdom, true achievement, is not a chalice for display, but an internal well from which we can always draw. Seeking fleeting external approval makes little sense when we can find wealth and purpose in the corners of our own minds. Perhaps the most silent yet eloquent virtue of all is silence itself. The Stoics recognized the subtlety of the line that separates healthy ambition from arrogance. Choosing to remain silent about our grand objectives was not an act of cowardice but a deliberate choice to walk with humility, avoiding the pride that sometimes blinds. Thus, the Stoic tradition offers us a rich perspective on the value of discretion. It teaches us that protecting our goals is more than a strategy. It is a way to strengthen our being, honor our self-sufficiency, and walk humbly in a world where external validation seems to be the prevailing currency. Number 6. Do not speak about your next steps. Imagine a chess master silently moving their pieces while opponents try to decipher their next moves. This is the path of the Stoics. They understood that by revealing every move in their lives, they could be subject to the capricious winds of external judgment. Often laden with criticism, envy, and even malicious intentions. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the virtue of self-sufficiency. Why rely on the fleeting applause of an audience when true strength resides in the internal theater of the mind? By keeping their life strategies secret, the Stoics were not merely hiding their plans, but fortifying their internal core of confidence independent of the tides of opinion that flow around them. This leads us to humility, a subtle yet profound quality that the Stoics fervently advocated. The revelation of grand strategies could easily be interpreted as a cry of arrogance, but in Stoic practice the emphasis is on the work rather than the announcement of intention, on doing rather than saying, on being rather than appearing. Number 7. Do not speak of your doubts and uncertainties. Imagine yourself in a vast forest where each tree represents a doubt and each shadow an uncertainty. Instead of shouting your hesitation to the world, you choose silent introspection, seeking answers within your own soul. This is the path of the Stoics. At the core of Stoic philosophy, it is recognized that confidence is not a flag to be waved before the world, but an internal beacon that guides our way. Revealing our doubts constantly to the world is like exposing a lighthouse to a torrential rain. It may extinguish. Quietly, we find the solidity needed to not be swayed by others' opinions and judgments. Modesty is not just an external virtue, but a shield that protects the spirit. Therefore, always choose when and with whom you will share your vulnerabilities. While many seek answers in the noise of the external world, understand the importance of silence and introspection. Believe that often the answers to the deepest questions resonate in the silent chambers of the heart and mind. By harboring certain uncertainties, you can cultivate deeper reflection and a more intimate connection with your essence. In short, Stoic wisdom whispers valuable advice. There is no need to shout your uncertainties to the world. Embracing silence, modesty, and introspection, we find a secure path through the forest of uncertainties, guided by the internal beacon of our confidence and understanding. This is the power of silent reflection and internal trust that the Stoics have bequeathed to us. Number 8. Do not speak of others. Critiquing others is like throwing stones into a calm lake, creating waves that disturb the serenity of the water. The Stoics understood that engaging in judgments and criticisms was a distraction from their own internal mirror, wasting precious energy on matters beyond their sphere of influence. Instead of pointing fingers, the Stoics chose to extend a hand. They guided themselves with empathy and compassion, recognizing that each person is a universe filled with internal and external battles, joys and sorrows, victories and defeats. Criticizing another person would be a failure to acknowledge the richness of the complexity of the human condition. They also understood that criticism, instead of building bridges, often erected walls. In their pursuit of tranquility and harmony, they understood that harsh words and hasty judgments do not lead to peace, but to discord and separation. Stoic wisdom sends us a clear and timeless message. We must be guardians of our words and thoughts. Instead of focusing on the flaws of others, we should turn our gaze to our own reflection for growth and virtue. In a world where criticism is easily thrown around, Stoic teachings inspire us to embrace understanding, acceptance, and kindness, throwing stones of empathy into the lake of humanity and appreciating the waves of positivity they generate. Number 9. Do not speak about your moments of solitude. While many seek to fill every second with stimuli and actions, the Stoics found strength in silence. They did not see solitude as an emptiness to be filled, but as a sanctuary where the mind could dance freely, liberated from the chains of others' opinions. Contrary to what many may think, the Stoics did not avoid solitude. They welcomed it. In their moments of retreat, they did not feel isolated, but connected to a rich internal universe, full of deeper thoughts untouched by external noise. In the current landscape, where validation through social media has become a priority for many, Stoic philosophy invites us to reassess these priorities. By distancing ourselves from the constant need for exposure, we find a space where our soul can breathe. And it is in this deep silence that we discover the melody of our essence, a sound that doesn't need to be shared, but only felt in its purity and truth. Number 10. Do not speak of unlearned lessons. Few things are as universal as mistakes. We all fail, we all make errors. But it is in the response to these failures that a person's character is truly revealed. For the Stoics, these moments were not ones of despair, but of revelation and growth. In our contemporary society, we often feel the pressure to project an image of perfection, showcasing our triumphs and concealing our defeats. However, the Stoics show us a different approach, embracing mistakes not as signs of weakness, but as a map for self-development. By choosing to keep their unlearned lessons private, the Stoics were not trying to evade their responsibilities or hide their failures. Instead, they sought refuge in a process of deep and intimate reflection. Each failure was not seen as an end, but as a beginning, a new chapter in the ongoing quest for virtue and wisdom. Just as an artist transforms a mistake into a crucial part of their work, the Stoics turned their failures into foundations for growth. In a world where oversharing and overexposure are common, the Stoic posture reminds us of the value of introspection and the dignity of silence. In today's era of overexposure, where every action seems to be documented and shared, Stoic philosophy invites us to reconsider how we handle our ambitions. It teaches us that true power often lies in what we keep secret, not because we are evasive, but because we recognize the importance of nurturing our dreams in a safe environment. For the Stoics, silence was not an emptiness. It was filled with possibilities and hope, a fertile ground where their dreams could grow undisturbed. In the midst of the chaos of our modern era, perhaps we can find inspiration in these ancient sages. By safeguarding our deepest plans, we allow them to develop at their own pace, away from interference. And in doing so, we may discover the true magic not in what we declare to the world, but in what we quietly achieve in the corners of our determination.